Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good day. I am excited to paint a beach scene with you all today. This is a painting that, oh my goodness, it's probably been 10 years ago since we painted it and had a party with it. So it's been a long time, and I'm excited to kind of redo this again with you guys. Um, I did the umbrella in red and white, and I'm going to do the chair in orange, but you can use whatever colors you want for those elements, of course. But I'm going to kind of walk you through the colors I've got here. So I've got some turquoise. This is folk art, Calypso Sky. I've got some folk art, cobalt blue. And I've got some Craftsmart orange and Craftsmart red, some Craftsmart burgundy, and then I've got just some brown and some yellow, as well as my white. And this is Artist Loft from Michael's. I like to buy the big bottles of it. Okay. Looking for, and I might want a little bit of green just to help with that sky. Okay. All right, so I've got my kind of my normal brushes. I'm going to use a large brush for the background. So just one of these guys. This is a flat 3/4 inch. You could use a 1 inch. I've been using this one a little bit more lately. It's just a big round brush. It's good for coverage. I've got a medium size flat and then this little like kind of filbert one. And then a couple of skinny brushes. So your really small ones will be good too. Okay. All right, and I'm also going to use some tracing paper. So I've just got this piece here, and I'm not going to trace everything on, but I am going to, and obviously I'm going to kind of improvise here. So I've got a bigger sheet of paper, or I mean a bigger canvas that I'm working with than my template. So you can kind of use your discretion as to how you want to do that. But what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to kind of line this up. And I think I want to have a little bit more sky up here. So I'm going to keep my umbrella right about there. And I'm just using an ink pen. And I'm just going to give this umbrella just a quick outline. It doesn't have to be perfect or really dark lines. And again, like depending on how much you want to do on your own and how much you want to trace in, you can do all these lines, or you can not do any of them. Just depends on how creative you're feeling today, right? Just gonna go ahead and draw all these guys in. I'm gonna make a line there for the umbrella, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave the glass here. Just gonna outline it. And the nice thing is we've still got our picture as our point of reference. So what I'm going to do is this table here, I'm going to just make this just come down a little bit. So it'll just kind of elongate. And then the same with the chair. That way we don't have to mess with like printing out multiple sheets and trying to get this a template. So that's going to work. Awesome. So what I kind of mean here is what I'll do is I'll just kind of make this table come down a little, make it even like do that. And then the chair has sort of an inside here. I can even just like kind of make it go out a little there. Okay, awesome. All right, so what we'll do, guys, we'll start with the background, okay? So I'm gonna just kind of mix some colors together here. So I've got this cobalt blue. You can use any blue that you want. This turquoise is about empty. It's like my favorite. I use so much turquoise. There we go. All right, so I've got some blue, some turquoise. This is, like I said, the Calypso Sky. But you could use any turquoise. A little bit of white. And I'm going to put just a touch of green. So if you mix white and green and blue together, it makes turquoise, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to have our, like a sky, water, and then beach. Okay, so our water, we want to have a little bit more of a turquoisey green tint to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on my brush. I'm going to use that big brush. And I'm just going to kind of start mixing together. We're just going to like test the waters here. So I'm going to put a little bit of turquoise, a little bit of white, and I'm going to just start at the top here. And we want to go down to about right here. Oops, that's white. And that's where we're going to kind of, we want to change colors a little bit. We want to go from, need to come down a little. We want to go from one color blue to another to just define, make sure I got that. Still don't think it's, there we go. And then our sand will be like right about here. So hopefully that'll give you guys kind of a good estimate there of where we're gonna be going. Okay. So I've got turquoise and white. Just kind of putting some on. So I'm using a mixed media pad. If you've painted with me before, I'm sure you've seen it. But I'm going to show it to you again real quick. It's this Canson acrylic and watercolor. So it takes the paint, you know, a little bit differently than our canvas. So if you're using a canvas, you may need to use a little bit more paint or maybe a little bit more water. Okay, so you guys can see here what I did. I added some of that dark blue. So I didn't rinse my brush. Kind of drug it over into my turquoise. We don't want it to be stripy, right? We want it to blend. So you want to do this while your paint's wet. And just Fill this in here with kind of our bluey turquoisey mix. You can add some white in, show like there's a little bit of a clouds. And we want to just continue all the way down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of make mine get a little bit more blue here as I get closer to my water. So then I can switch to more of a turquoise. All right, so I'm just going to get close to this umbrella. Just kind of outline it a little bit here. Put some more water in my paint. Water in your paint is kind of like magic. Just makes everything go on a little bit more smoothly. Just take it slow around that umbrella. The nice thing too with acrylics, and I know I say this a lot, but is it's really easy to cover up and blend. So if you get down here and you start working on your water and you think you need to come up back up to the top and add some more blue or whatnot, you can always do that. So I decided on this beach painting today because it is so cold in Indiana. And I am just so done with the cold weather. So I thought, let's think positive with beach here. Okay. Just going to kind of straighten out some of these lines here. Okay, I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. So we don't really need to rinse our brush unless you've got like straight blue in it, okay? Still trying to feel like I need to even this up a little bit. Okay. My OCD painters would have their ruler out right now, or they'd be asking for one. I just wing it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to quit messing with that. Now, what we want to do is, like I said, we want to see if our paintbrush has a whole lot of that bright blue on it. You can kind of wipe it on your napkin or rinse it. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch to more of that turquoise. So just going to kind of mix here together. And I'm going to start out with just turquoise and white. And I'm just going to go right over that line there because our the umbrella will just, that black stand or whatever will just go right over. It's easier to do that than to try to like make it, go around it because it's dark brown and it will be good. Okay. Woohoo. Lots of paint. I always say don't be afraid of the paint. Okay. Just lightly dragging some paint across. Now I want to show you guys what just the teeniest bit of that green will do. So When I say teeny bit, I mean really teeny bit. Because you don't want it to be like mint green. So it just gives it that more of that oceany turquoise. I have found with painting with so many of you guys, most people like turquoise, but people like different shades. Some people are more of a green turquoise person. Some people are more of a blue turquoise person. It's the craziest thing, but and you may not like that green in there. If you don't, let it dry and just come back to it. Now this bottom part of the umbrella, we just want to get as close as we can here. That's going to be like a dark red, so it should cover up if we get too close. And you can always switch brushes if you feel like you need a, a smaller brush. By all means, go for it. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep that line. Put some water on my paint here. All right. I'm thinking, that's why I'm so quiet. I'm thinking that I need to come over here and blend this in. I don't really love the way that's looking. Okay. And then I'm going to just rinse my brush out a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to dab it on my napkin. And I am going to water down a little bit of blue paint. And I'm just going to go up here and just soften some of these brush stroke marks. And that is kind of a like a multimedia. The pads, they do that, I think, a little bit more than a canvas when they dry. But sometimes with a canvas, you'll go and you'll see little white specks peek through, and some watered down paint will help to just kind of even that out. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so I'm going to stick my brush in the water again, and we are going to make some sand. All right, so I've got some yellow here, bright yellow. Any brand will work. We don't need very much. Just put a little bit on your plate. You can always add more. Whoa. And mine came out like super fast. So that's way more than I'm going to need. Actually, I'm just going to switch plates here. We're going to just start over. All right. So a little bit of yellow. A little bit of brown. And this is just a regular old brown, Craftsmart. And then I want some white. All right. So I'm going to grab that big brush again. I'm going to make sure all my blue is out. Slide this back a little. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a new pile over here. So I'm going to take some brown, some white, a lot of white, and then I'm going to take just a teeny bit of yellow. You'll know if you got too much, but really just start with like barely any yellow, and then you can always add it. And the nice thing about this sand is it's not a perfect blend, so it doesn't have to be like you could have a little bit darker in some areas. Okay, so I think I kind of like that. You could probably buy this color too. I just I like to mix. And you may find too that once you get it on your canvas, you may not love it. And you don't have to make such a mess like I did, but um that's just kind of how I do. All right, so I'm going to use two brushes, but I've got all this paint on my brush. So I'm just going to go in here and just use some of it up on these bigger areas. Eek. Got like a little hair in there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to switch up to this paintbrush. You could also use a smaller one. If you feel like you need to use like a really small one to get around the edges, that's fine too. But we're just going to go in and we're just going to kind of outline all of our little details here and just fill this in with our sand mixture. And then we can go back and add a little bit of shading if we want to do like some areas that are maybe a little lighter or darker. Okay, add a little bit of water to my paint. And this doesn't necessarily have to be all like going the same direction, but I think it makes your paint look a little bit more smooth. Now the outside of this chair is dark, like almost a black color, so it's okay if you get a little bit on the edges. All right. And this cherry is going to be a dark red, so I'm not going to be crazy particular around it either. There's like kind of that fine line between making it look choppy because you're trying to go around something, or you just paint over it and then go over it with your other color. I wouldn't recommend that with like white on top of black, but for something like that, it's pretty simple. And you can still see your circle, so that's good too. Okay. I'm just gonna fill this in around this cup. And after this dries, I'm sure I'm gonna have to go back in and just kind of touch some of this up and make sure it's looking a little bit more even. Okay, I'm liking my sand. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry a little bit, and then, like I said, if I feel like I need to go back and do some touch up or lighten or darken any areas, right now I feel like I've got kind of a lot of paint on there, so I don't want to get too much paint and then it gets goopy. All right, so we are going to switch gears and we're going to move back up to the umbrella. So I'm going to move my mess of a paint plate here. I don't normally waste so many plates, but I guess today's the day, huh? Okay, so we need our red. I'm gonna put a little bit of burgundy on here too. Sometimes, red can be a little see-through. It can just be a little tricky sometimes. So I sometimes like to add like a little bit of darken or add a little bit of lighter, like some white. All right, and then we've got a little bit of brown. I'm also going to add some black in. It's just Craftsmart black. That is to darken up our brown. So a little bit of black with brown gives it a chocolatey look, like that dark chocolate color. And my white. Okay, so here's what I've got here. Okay. All right, and I'm going to use a skinny brush. And I'm going to just use this little medium-sized brush as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to just put our base colors on first, and then we'll go back and we'll do a second coat. Red is really hard to cover on the first coat. So I'm just going to dip in my red paint here. And what I did was I did this one red and this one red. So then these two are white, and then the underneath is going to be like a dark red. Okay, hopefully that's maybe helpful. Okay, so we're just going to put I'm going to turn this a little bit. Just kind of helps me. All right, so I'm just going to come in here. I just want to get right along the edge. Just take it really slow. And we're just going to fill this in with our red. And remember, first coat. So if it doesn't look perfect, that's okay. Just kind of let it be. So I'm going to do all the red first before I do the white. We're going to do the white last because we want it to be super dry so we don't have pink. Which if you like pink, you can do pink, but so I'm going to do this first coat on the bottom, regular red, and then I'm going to go back over it with a darker. And, I know I've said this before, but I'm just going to say it again because we get caught up when we're painting. If you need a skinny brush to get around these edges, please grab one. I'm going to use one here. I'm going to put a little bit of water on my brush. And I'm just going to come down super light touch. Get these points here. You can always go back in at the end too and add some like shading and some outlining that helps with those edges some if you need it. I know it's really hard sometimes to do, like really pointy and perfect straight lines. It's just hard. One, your brushes play a big factor in it. I like to have lots of skinny brushes. But two, it's our hands can be shaky or you can just be having an off day. And it takes practice. Not pushing very hard and just kind of giving this an outline. Okay. Okay. Now I want to fill in this part of the umbrella. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to let that get good and dry. Okay. So you'll notice a lot of times when I'm painting that I will like completely switch from one part of the painting to another. And really that's just to let things dry because it's hard to cover when it's still wet. It just kind of like I said earlier, it just becomes like a goopy mess. So um, I'm going to go down and work on this chair a little bit. I'm going to make my chair orange I think it would look cool green. I think um, you could do any bright, fun summer color. So this square right here is kind of like the back of the chair, like like the seat or whatever. So this is going to be your color, and then the outside we're going to make like a really dark chocolate brown. So these lines don't have to be crazy perfect, but I'm going to switch to a little bit bigger brush. And the reason why I did that is it just kind of minimizes those brush strokes. Granted, it's faster and it covers better, but it also makes it look better because it's not those little teeny brush strokes. Okay, now depending on what color you're using, you may want to have a second coat, which, either way is fine. All right, so I'm gonna mix up some of this dark brown. So I'm just grabbing a brush here. I got some water, some brown. Now, I am barely gonna put any black in, and you guys can see how much that darkens it up. So what I recommend is just kind of pulling a pile off to the side. That way you don't ruin your whole pile of brown by accidentally getting it too dark. And just take it super slow. It doesn't take very much at all. Okay. So what I want to do, I'm going to start on this table down here. So we've got a few things that are going to be this color. So this table, the chair, and then part of our the stick on the umbrella. Okay. So I'm just kind of lightly filling this in here. Okay. So I've got a couple little spots that I think I'm going to add some more of my beach color, my sand color. So I'm just leaving those white for now. Kind of see there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do. So the way this goes is I'm just going to make a line and then we'll work from there. Okay, so I'm just going to follow my line. We're going on top of the bottom of the umbrella. don't have to push very hard. I've just got that kind of skinny brush that I was using. And since we added the table, I'll just make it go all the way down. Okay. All right. Now my orange is dry over here. So I'm going to add just a little bit more orange, just brighten this up really well, make it super fun and summery. Don't be afraid of the paint, it will dry. And the nice thing about being at home is you can always grab your hair dryer if you get impatient or if you get it too thick. That happens too. We're going to go back and put a little bit of shading on that too, just to give it a little something in the end. All right. So I'm going to put those brushes back in the water. We are going to switch gears again. We're going to go back up to our umbrella. Okay. So we want these two to be bright and this to be dark. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start to fill this in with plain red. I'm just going to take this like one section at a time, okay? Because while this red paint is wet, we're going to do just a teeny bit of shading with white, okay? That will just kind of help with the curvature of the umbrella, make it look a little bit more lifelike. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've still got that red paint on my brush. I'm going to take a teensy bit of white. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it just right up there, kind of like where the sun is shining. And then I'm going to do just a teeny bit down here too. Up here and just soften this out a little bit. So the more you go over it, the more it will just end up being like one solid color. Okay, so when you're doing some shading or something like that, you just need to try to put it on and then just leave it. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the same thing with this one. And if you had very much white on your brush, you can rinse it out. If not, it's okay to leave it in there. Okay. Now, teeny bit of white, mix in. And I'm going to just do a little teensy bit of shading. right along that edge. And maybe just a little down here. Okay. I like it. I like it. All right. Now for the darker red. Okay. So I've still got my red on my brush. About to run out of it. I'm going to mix some red with some burgundy. If you don't have burgundy, you can mix a teensy bit of brown with your red, and that will darken it up. I don't typically recommend adding black to it. That just doesn't, it doesn't tend to mix well. And I'm just going to go really close to my line there. We're going to go back over that. I don't like that brush. Okay, switching up my brushes here. The paint's getting thick over there, so I'm going to just switch to the other side and let that have a minute to dry. There we go. My paints have been sitting out for a little while and they'll start to get kind of tacky. So I added some water. It's helpful. Almost there. Okay, now if we want to go back and shade that in with some dark brown after it dries, we definitely can. I'm going to leave it right now and let it dry and just kind of see how it turns out after it dries. So we got a couple more things here. Chair and our cocktail. So let's do the chair first. And I'm going to use that dark brown mixture. So I put a little bit of that in with my red. So I'm going to just make myself a new pile here. I'm going to put some water in it. You want it to be about the same color that you used on the other table. And we're just going to lightly give this some color. I'm gonna kind of straighten up my lines here just a little bit where I got out just a little bit with the orange. Got a little crazy there. You could add anything you wanted to this picture too. You could put some flip-flops or, whatever you're feeling. Okay, I'm going to use a skinny mini brush to kind of get around those edges. And a little bit of water to my paint here. Just helps me to get those finer lines. I feel like the more I paint this, the more I'm like, I'm going to be on a beach. Actually, not a beach, a pool. Definitely more of a pool gal. But as much as the pool is my therapy, so is painting. I needed to paint today. It's been one of those weeks. Okay. Now I'm going to give this guy another little coat over here because it just looks a little see-through. Might have used a little too much water, or you never know. Got some regular brown peeking through there, but I think I'm okay with that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do the stand, the whole thing, before I do my glass. So really what we need to do is just thicken it up. So I've just still got that dark brown color. And I'm using the skinny brush. You can switch if you want, but if you push down a little bit, it will just thicken up that line for you some. Okay. Now I'm going to put a teeny bit of white on my brush. I didn't rinse it. I'm going to go in along the edge and just do a teeny bit of shading. So I'm just going on that right-hand side. My paint is still wet. I didn't rinse my brush. It's not like a exact, like you have to put the line right exactly here, right? It's like you're just kind of giving it some shading. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing kind of up here with some dark brown. Just going to come in right underneath this umbrella. Now, if yours is really bright red, you may not want to do this, but I just want to go in and kind of give it more of a definition between the top of the umbrella and the bottom. Plus, I think my lines need cleaned up just a smidge. Just gonna try to avoid my little stick there. I think that looks better. Okay, I like it. All right, rinse my brush. So, a couple more things here, guys. We've got our glass with the cherry. I've got to touch up a little bit of my sand here. And we're going to do a little bit of shading, and we need to put white in here. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my sand plate here. It's kind of dry, but... And I'm going to take a skinny brush, some water. Doesn't take much of this, so... And you may not have to do this. I just need to fill in those little... And I'm just, like, ever so lightly just kind of going in and filling in where those white spots are peeking through. And if there's anything else that you feel like you need to touch up, or maybe it's not blending awesome, you can do that now. All right. So I've got that. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit larger of a brush, and I'm mixing some white in with my sand color. And I'm just going to come down here and just do a little shading. So I'm right next to my table, and I'm just doing a little bit lighter. I do a little bit here. And it may not be, super noticeable, but I think it definitely adds a little bit. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And if if you start to do it and you don't like it, you can always cover it up. Okay. All right, now while I'm down here, I'm also going to take a teeny bit of white and I want to make just some little lines in this chair. I'm also going to just kind of come along the edges here. So kind of like where you sit, okay? And I'm also going to take a little bit of white and shade this chair. Just a little bit. Do a little bit on the table, just so we're consistent. Just kind of showing some lines here, okay? Just giving it some shape. Okay? All right. So back to skinny brush. Make sure it's clean. And we are going to do the drink next. So you could do this drink any color you wanted. I'm going to start with some white, just with a skinny brush. And I'm going to just fill this thing in. Give ourselves a good base. And then what we'll do is we'll add some color in for the drink. If you want to, you could just leave it white. And then we'll do a teeny bit of outlining around the cup if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and just put some white on where the cherry's gonna go. It'll make it a whole lot easier to cover. Okay. Now I think I'm gonna make my drink blue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to go halfway down. I've still got some white on my brush. And I'm not gonna make it like straight stark blue. So I just wanna kind of pull some through. It's mixing in with my white. Okay. I love it. Now, red cherry. So make sure you have some of your bright red paint left, which I don't. So I'm going to put a little bit more in here. I don't need very much at all. Don't be afraid of the paint. You can really... Okay, just a few more little things and we're almost there. So we have to make a little stem on the cherry. And we also need to make our black thing that goes up here. And then we're going to do some white on our umbrella. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the white. Make sure your red is really good and dry. And do you want to pick a really clean brush Okay, and find some white that isn't super messy. Okay, and if you want to use, a skinny brush around the edges, you can. If you want to wing it like I'm going to. So we're just giving it a light coat. Now, if you accidentally get some of the white into the red, the best thing to do is just wait for it to dry, like, I mean, really, really dry. And then you can go back and kind of touch that up. So I'm going to take my skinny brush here, go down and make a point. Right. Okay. I know it probably doesn't look like it is doing very much the white, but it really does kind of just bring the painting together and make it more complete. Alrighty. Now you want to use skinny mini brush. I know I keep switching around. It's like one of my bad habits. I just always keep switching. Okay. All right, so I'm going to water down some black paint. And we only need one coat of that white, so you should be good to go with just the one. Okay. So I'm going to add a little stem to the cherry. Just teeny, teeny. And then I'm also going to do just a teeny bit of outlining. Just kind of clean up this glass a little bit. And you don't have to put an outline everywhere. It can be kind of like it's shading. Okay. And then the last little thing is we need to put the little topper on here. Okay, guys, and that's it. Unless you want to do, like any other shading or outlining. A lot of people don't like outlining, but sometimes it really does kind of bring the painting together. And even if you don't outline everything, just, like almost like a shading. All right. So as always, if you have any questions, let me know. I would love to see your finished painting. And I hope to paint with you guys again super soon. Have a great day. Bye.